Whoa, welcome back. I actually have tweaked the dead zone a little bit, and I find that I just did some little, before I started, I actually modified the dead zone enough to where I would be able to aim a little bit better. And again, it's going to take some readjusting because now Link feels, but again, we're going back to that weight. That weight is of course implied now. That you had with the N64 controller, where there was resistance to the movement, and that's going to help a lot when I go back to that minigame, which I will do on camera now. And I love that the cuckoos allow you to fly. Definitely a missed opportunity in my opinion. What do you want? What was Saria say? Oh, Saria? You mean the person we talked to twice that we have an implied friendship with? I feel like that could have been used a lot more to this game's advantage. The cuckoos giving you height, and it's cool that that lens flare effect is there in Majora's Mask, and here it's used a lot more in Majora's Mask, the lens flare thing, but it's definitely on display here. It's a simple enough animation, so let's use that here. And there's a lot of trial and error here if you don't know what you're doing. But I have a system worked out about what cuckoos to get in what order to help Cuckoo Lady and you from Majora's Mask. I'm glad that in Majora's Mask they gave all these characters names, because they honestly don't have names in Ocarina of Time. And I guess that kind of goes with the territory here. I mean, you just some kid, you know, they're not really, the relationship is very surface value with a lot of these NPCs, and I don't know if it was purposeful that you don't know their names. What are you gonna do, guy? What are you gonna do? In the pen you go. Okay, I was a little worried there for a second. It's weird, she does this little bobbing animation, you can see it right there when you talk to her. It's very, very weird. Just kind of imagine, if you will, speaking of someone that's kind of like bobbing their head with their hands together like that. A little weird. But anyway, none of the NPCs in this game seem to have names, except for the really significant ones, like the boss of the Carpenters and Saria and things like that. But every NPC, you know, to create that player-character connection should have a name, at least. I think it's interesting, you can actually see the shadow of the cuckoo there, which implies in the box. Otherwise, how in hell would you know that cuckoo's there? I certainly wouldn't. Certainly through trial and error, I guess, if you're just really looking for places to find these things, but there's a shadow there you can see with the up-resing, the cuckoo being there. So I think we'll get this one up on top of the hill, and then the one next to the entrance. It kind of goes without saying that the cuckoos, I don't know what Shigeru Miyamoto's got against chickens, but there's obviously some sort of malice hiding somewhere for the chicken as a creature, because when you attack these suckers, you all know what happens. I don't even have to say anything. If you're watching a video about Zelda, you know the danger of the chicken. Chicken is not to be trifled with. Let's see. How many chickens do we have left? Okay. And it's always kind of funny in Zelda that they don't, I guess it's to give it that whimsical fantasy nature that you're not in the same universe that we are, that they give these monsters and stuff, but they're so uncreative. Like, with all the creativity on display, the names of animals and races in general, they don't have a lot of creativity to them. The skeleton things are called Staphos, the lizard things are called Lizophos. You just kind of give that O sound to the end of it and just call it a day. A little lazy there, it's kind of funny, but it's completely forgivable. And this should give us a bottle. Thank you for finding my cuckoos. I have allergies, so I get goosebumps when I touch them, and that's okay. I don't know if it's trying to be funny on purpose, but why the fuck do you handle chickens if you have a severe anaphylactic reaction to them? Anyway, and it's funny if you, every time you and that model there, that's completely, that's what the bottle looks like in Majora's Mask, and it's what it should like here, but it's not in game for whatever reason. So now we have 2 bottles, which is great. Great start. If you repeat this every time you leave Kakariko Village, the cuckoos will get loose again, and she says that whatever she's giving you is made of fine glass, and in subsequent playthroughs of that little mini game, she gives you 50 rupees, and so it's made of fine glass. There's a little bit more going on with Anju than meets the eye. I guess that's kind of played into. Maybe they were taking notes when they were making Majora's Mask that she's not all there. Okay, so we're gonna initiate the because I kind of cheese here. We're gonna initiate the mask side quest, which really doesn't serve a purpose here. Gets you some rupees, gets you some character relationships, gets you the Mask of Truth. But again, this game, with how much it holds your hand, the hints that the Mask of Truth gives you are, if memory serves me correctly, are not they're not necessary. I think they're more tidbits, more expansions of the lore, whereas they're in Majora's Mask they actually provide hints, because there's quite an ordeal you have to go through to get the Mask of Truth in Majora's Mask. Here, so much it's just sort of a natural progression. It's nice, with the exception of the Keaton mask. If you're not talking to everyone, it's not laid out exactly where the mask needs to go. So now we have the Keaton mask, and what's funny is if you refuse to give the Keaton mask to the guard who starts this Happy Mask quest, he will not let you through the gate. Oh, you don't want to give me this Pikachu mask? You can't save the world. Fine. Okay, so we'll try this now with this improved, more realistic dead zone and see if I can avoid sweeping past it. Nope, it's still too sensitive. God. Damn it. Maybe we can get a free playthrough at least. Shit! God damn it. Not too bad. Fuck, this is way too difficult with this Xbox One controller. I can't imagine with the bow and arrow sequence. It's so much harder because the pattern's randomized. At least I know where they're gonna come from when I'm playing it through like this. I think I might actually do it. I think I might actually. Yes. Okay. But I can't imagine. I'm gonna definitely have to alter the dead zone just a wee bit more because the pattern is unpredictable when you're an adult and you have to do the bow shooting gallery. Now we've got that. Let's go ahead and give it a save. And actually, I wanted so bad because I'm missing that force feedback. Because I had a rumble pack when I had Ocarina of Time. It was revolutionary at the time, but it was actually a battery-powered rumble system that was went into the N64, and you couldn't simultaneously have memory and rumble, which was a real big drawback, but it was there, revolutionary for the time. But here, for some reason, it's not fully supported, and there's just something in the emulator called visual rumble, and I'm kind of interested to see what that means. So let's give it a try real quick, some visual rumble. Or how about, no, you'll need the Stone of Agony to because the Stone of Agony is one of the Skulltula rewards, and it causes the controller to vibrate when you're near something that can be activated with the Song of Storms or a bomb, like say a hole in the ground. And of course the cuckoos are loose again. Good job, Anju. Up until even as an adult, Erin never even started the Happy Mask quest, and good on him. You know, I would have hated to watch us suffer through this because there's so much goddamn guesswork here that I it would have just been so agonizing to think about him having to stop every 10 seconds to consult his fucking phone to know where these things go. Key something? 8 for 15, earn a profit. I definitely would have loved to have seen more risk reward with this whole mass side quest, because it's like, oh, well, sometimes you'll get all the money you need and with some extra, and sometimes you won't get enough, and then sometimes you'll get too much. And then, of course, once you complete the quest, not only do you get the Mask of Truth, but you get the Zora Mask, Goron Mask, and the Gerudo Mask to wear just kind of as aesthetic throwaways. And I love that that idea became like a main staple of the next game. It really just missed a lot of potential in that. And if you haven't observed the skybox there, that's really good. Just kind of look up there on top. That skybox is really great. I don't think that the Hyrule Field overworld thing gets reused from this game either. It's crazy to think there's so many iconic songs in this so-called iconic best Zelda ever that don't ever get reused, and they really are good songs. But I'm always for you know, making strides in whenever you're making music for a game, but at the same time, going back to whenever I was in the swamp variant of the Lost Woods, smoke them if you got them, use your assets if you got them. If you know that players enjoy a certain musical style or something, use that music. If I have one gripe with the Breath of the Wild, is that it's good for what it is, and I'm sure you all know where I'm going. We're gonna do a little soft reset, but there's basically no music in Breath of the Wild. There's some little ambient noodling of the piano, and you know, that's cool for whatever, for your little exploration that you're doing. But I would have loved to have heard some more classic Zelda tracks. There's our file. So this gets us back to where we want to be, basically the Lost Woods. You'll always start, if you're Kid Link, in the house. So this kind of puts us back where we need to be instead of us having to walk all the way back. That's definitely not something I wanted to do. And this also will allow us to get that little slingshot upgrade, which again we don't need. Because outside of the mini games, Z targeting takes care of it, and with your shots with the slingshot, so you don't need to necessarily aim in first person. And oh no, you're wanting me to talk. Sorry, Christ, I'm a cracker. But we can go through and do this now. But he won't take the skull mask from us until wait. He won't take that from us until we learn Saria's song. He'll just kind of vanish if we try to get even close to him. Okay. So, yeah, this is probably going to be the same sort of thing. I feel like the hitbox is going to be off a little bit. But as long as because there's no drift, we should be able to hit. Here we go. 3 bullseyes in a row. And really, there's no challenge to that at all. In the 3DS remake, they actually kind of fixed that to where Link's hand kind of does the same thing that Leon's hand does in Resident Evil 4, where it kind of shakes on its own, especially if you have the gyroscope's controls turned on. So if you keep trying to shoot in the same spot over and over, you will not get a perfect bullseye each time. But now we have our slingshot bag fully upgraded, and we have 50 seeds. So even if we were absolutely god-awful and did not understand how Z-targeting works, Erin, we'd be good. And again, another thing that you could have figured out on your own, that Saria's song is going to take you to Saria. If you are courageous, you will make it through the forest just fine. Yeah, there's no peril here, really. You get lost, you immediately come back to the beginning of the woods. Even, I think if I were the person behind this game, and you know, hindsight's 20/20, but if I were the one in charge of making this game, I would have made you lose a heart or something. Something other than having to start over, even if it was half a heart. Just, because otherwise there's no peril to going the wrong way. Save. Save. You having to start over. And trial and error, even if you're not listening to Saria's song in the background, will get you to where you need to be. I like how they just, it has the percussion, but you lose the ocarina melody the further away you are from where you need to be going. And let's see, so we're gonna click our swing shot save. Looking for more juicy bits, some things that just necessarily that I saw wrong with Erin's playthrough. But honestly, we haven't gotten there just yet. We're just kind of perusing. And I made bad on my promise to go back and watch that video because there was like a little copyright notice that I got hit with, so I had to remove some stuff. So let's see. And this is just a sort of neat little thing you can stumble across. Certain masks will give you certain item upgrade rewards with this little particular thing here. And God, I want to stop. It's worse than the low health tone that you get when you're down to low health. Just give me my stick upgrade that I don't need, please. Please, God. Okay. Abracadabra, Alakazam. Okay. So now we have that. You can completely miss this, and there really is no direction towards it being here, other than the butterflies. I guess through process elimination, eventually you can discover that the butterflies hover over poles. So, yeah, I think it's straight here. So it should just be straight on to the end from here on out. But, one thing that has always really bothered me about watching Erin fight Wolfos is dead. Never once tried the jump attack. And this here, it goes to this isometric view when you're a child, but when you're an adult, it doesn't. And I think that it goes just straight. It doesn't alter the camera angle. But that leaf, that retexture work, I guess it goes through a filter less than it. There's an actual retexture for both, but I feel like the red really pops with that retexture. Okay, so put that. And just to prove how much, there's a fairy fountain right there, and 9-year-old me is telling me to go hop down there and grab a fairy, but honestly, dude, I feel like, and I may eat my words later on, that I don't need any healing items. I really don't. I feel like I can make this through in one swift run. I honestly don't feel the peril encroaching on me whatsoever. But, okay, and I take that back. This is where the ball really gets rolling, where we learn Saria's song. Once we get to the second spiritual stone, that's whenever the game really starts to get going. And up until this point, I feel like we are basically going through the motions and still trying to get acquainted with the game. Let's see. No. See, this is the Sacred Forest Meadow. It's my secret place. I feel this place will be very important for both of us someday. That's what I feel. Foreshadowing. I forgot my opportunity to say no. And playing Saria's song gives you a through line directly to Saria, which has a neat little effect later on in the game, but it's just another through line to basically giving you in-game hints. It's never explained, like later on in the game, like Saria has the ability to tell you where the last spiritual stone is if you just absolutely have no idea, and you don't feel like exploring like the 2 quadrants left on the map that are available to you as Child Link. It's never explained how she knows these things and what makes her different from every other Kokiri in the forest other than she's your bestie. It's a little silly when you think about it. Okay, I missed the bunny hook from Majora's Mask so bad. I'm sorry if the clicking of that A button is getting on your nerves, but it's going to get on my nerves more to go on walking speed. For future reference for anyone that's watching, there is a fairy fountain right there. You can totally go grab yourself some fairies if you're just feeling confident. Oh, Christ. No. No. Way to break the immersion. And this, my friends, is why there's no voice acting in Zelda. Let's get as quickly as we can. Make our way back up there. Oh, dear. We completely forgot a very important detail. We need to befriend the Skull Kid. Which can kind of go either way. Depending on how you feel about the Skull Kid as a character, like later on in the game, when you're an adult, he will just assault you on sight, and it carries over from here. If you gave him the skull mask, he'll be wearing that in the future whenever you essentially slaughter him. But I guess that can be heartbreaking in a way to have to kill him, but he will give you 300 rupees if you do so, so I think it's well worth it, especially considering to know what he goes on to do in future installments. And there's, again, one of those instances where there's that risk reward, like, oh no, he only gave me 5 rupees, whatever shall I do? But, yeah, plenty of rupees, what's 5? But it kind of sets up, but there's no payoff, it sets off that fear that by continuing the, Happy Mask quest, that there is some danger to it. I think I'll set it up in a later video where I don't have enough money to pay the Happy Mask salesman. Actually, you know, I really don't think, it goes without saying, he gets angry, and he looks like he's gonna lash out at you, and again, it's another missed opportunity where, like, you could have gotten a game over or something, from the Happy Mask salesman if you don't follow through with being able to give him the mask, or the money that's associated with selling it. And I've always kind of found it funny that the Happy Mask salesman essentially makes you his selling bitch, whereas in Majora's Mask, he's wandering around with his pack on his back, actually doing some legwork, actually doing some fucking work. But essentially, you're just his bitch. You're spreading happiness, and isn't that rewarding in and of itself? Fucking Ponzi scheme. Actually, I have no idea where I'm at as far as time goes. But I think I might take a little break here in a second once we get the spooky mask, and then have the bunny hood in our inventory, and then once we get up to Death Mountain, then I'll kind of call it there. Oh great, you sold it. Please pay me back for the mask that I had you sell. So strange. No, I don't want to borrow that. I want this, which is essentially like our Re-Dead mask, which I thought was kind of cool. Which is basically a Re-Dead mask. And it would have been neat to even see that. Well, you do get the Gibdo mask. But I think it would have been more cool to have the Re-Dead mask. I've always found the Re-Dead, because the Gibdo is essentially the Re-Dead and bandages. I've always found the Re-Dead to be more imposing, just because they have this black, soulless face, this mouth for, like, basically, and in the artwork for Zelda, like, they have teeth. If I'm not mistaken, they actually have like teeth, and I think they make good on this in the 3DS remake. where they're actually, when they latch on you to suck health, they actually have teeth that pry into you. Some teeth here would be nice. That would make it more imposing. I definitely think that's a missed opportunity that I would have preferred to have had a Redead mask over a Gift Doom mask at Majora's Mask. We have just enough time left to essentially give this to... I find it funny, they even pointed out that all they do is wander around aimlessly. Like, if you go talk to the leader of the Carpenters, that they just run around aimlessly all day long and they never really do any work. But the funny thing is they actually do, when you get to the adult section of the game, that they actually do finish building that structure, which turns into the new location for the shooting gallery. But they do wander around aimlessly. Presumably, at some point within 7 years, they got the boss got sick of their shit and actually got them to do real work. I don't know if it's just luck or whatever, but I seem to keep entering this area when the Kakariko Village music is not playing. I'm the boss of the... Yeah, even he doesn't have a name, and he also doesn't appear to have an anus either, if you look to the right. Just running aimlessly around the village, and they're not making any progress at all. I think it'd be interesting to see what Grog is doing during the day, because he only appears in the village at night. So many questions that I ask about the characters, and I think that whilst playing Ocarina, the developer saw that. Nope, up goes the drawbridge. We gotta. Nope, sorry, no entry for you. Well, joke's on you. I have the Sun Song, so. And down they go. I've never played this game without the Sun Song. I've never been stuck outside the gate that I can think of. I've always tried to avoid it. A neat little Easter egg. If you keep killing Style Children, eventually one big one will pop out. And it would have been neat to see, like, if that, like, I know it's just a bigger variant on the model, but just if it did more damage or something. But it's just a big style child that'll pop up if you keep killing them. I really think it would have been cool to see him just be like a mini boss or something. Going back to my Majora's Mask video, besides the style children, there's of course the Oh God! Or do you want to trade in for another mask? No, I just accidentally talked to you. Crazy random happenstance. Shit happens. Understand the game mechanics of which you are in. But let's see, what do we want? Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot to say here. The answer is more caffeine and more time watching Erin suffer. But for the sake of completeness, I guess is what I'm doing here for. So we'll go here and we'll make our way up the mountain. And once we get there, we'll call it a day. But I've kind of lost some of my gusto. I mean, I was really angry when I started playing this, but to be honest, this game is kind of therapeutic in a way. Just I think that once a year, any Zelda fan should play through Ocarina of Time. It's very linear in nature. It's like reading an old familiar book or watching an old familiar movie. Because not all video games need to be these exercises in endurance and critical thinking. You know, this game really plays to the casual gaming audience as a whole. I think this is more of a casual Zelda, because I can go through this without thinking, and I can just talk my ass off. and that's fine. Not every game needs to be a masterwork of on so many different levels that it's trial and error each time you play it. So here we are on Death Mountain Trail. And I love that the enemy type that roams in Link to the Past on Death Mountain, I believe, are tech types as well. These are throwaway enemies too, like going back to watching Game Grumps play theirs. I just remember just having such a difficult time with these tech types. When one good jump slash will do them in. Or even so, just like, even if I wanted to whack at them, just 2 hits, gone. Here's our first introduction of the Goron race, which is so adorable. Let's see. I'm one of the Gorons, the stone-eating people who live on Death Mountain. Look at that huge boulder over there. What a segue. Hi, this is what I am, and look at that fucking huge-ass boulder. But one day, many Dodongos. I didn't ask for your life story, man. In fact, I didn't say a word. Top of that Gerudo in black armor. Ganondorf was advice. I love how, like, points of interest in text boxes here, they are always illuminated in red, as if to highlight their importance. Like, I mean, I can understand if the text wasn't crawling like a slug, but, you know, if you just read, then you don't need red text. We're not reading the New King James Bible, and this is not Jesus Christ speaking here, people. It's not that important, but we're gonna go down here. I think rolling will save us. Yeah, there we go. So, of course, you know, and this is where you learn that Zelda's Lullaby is not going to be the end-all be-all for being able to let you have points of entry. And it's another frustrating thing that Erin does, is that he tries Zelda's Lullaby at every fucking turn. And also he forgets at this point that he has not learned Saria's song to gain the chest of Darunia, or at least to give you the Goron bracelet to get into Dodongo's cavern. Whenever it's clearly stated that they basically record the episodes in a big large chunk and release it piecemeal to kind of appeal to YouTube's algorithms so that they make the most revenue. These, like, in Game Grumps time, not our time, it's been like, what, 20 or 30 minutes? Oh, did I do that? Like, can I have some of what you're smoking, dude? Because, like, it calls into question, like, I mean, you know, going back to, you know, where he's in the ice cavern, that little clip from Sequelitis, in Ocarina, whoops, you know, like he doesn't have fucking object permanence, let alone short-term memory period, it seems. Let's see, I'm Darunia. What's the Gorons? And the less that I have to think about, and really say in general, the more I think about how Link is just kind of the biggest yes man of all time. He just kind of sits there like, okay, exposition dump, yeah, totally. What is Link's real motivation here? You're being told that you need to do these things, but really, what is Link getting out of this, you know? I want more insight into Link as a character. I know I keep backpedaling here, but that's a good point that Erin makes. Like, what's in it for me? What does this do for me? Because if you want to just take it at face value, Link is a child in this game, and he should be completely self-serving. You know, I don't know many 10-year-olds that would just risk their life to help save all these people. There's no sense of responsibility here. Like, Link has no personal obligation to do any of the things that he's doing, you know? And it's really odd, but And it's irritating here that when Erin forgets to get Saria's song, if you talk to all the Gorons here and exhaust all your options, just really just investigate, try to figure out exactly what you need to do. He says that he wants you to bring fire here. Well, bringing fire here will set off the bomb and let you back into the forest if that's what you need to do. So now that's done, and now you have one of your first of many shortcuts. Meow. So, you know, if you needed to save and quit at this point, you would have that ability. But here's where we're going to need to equip our Hylian shield, because the Deku shield, in a nice touch, is of course made of wood, and all the fire in this area will make you lose it. So that's a nice touch there. So let's go up here, even though we haven't. I'm not seeing a whole lot of retextures of that. Maybe if we zoom in a little bit closer. I can't get a good look at that, but I assume it's been retextured at least a little bit because it does look a little sharper. But let's see. We want that Skulltula that's down there in that patch of soil once we open up Dodongo's cavern. And I think a little bit more could have been done to make the Gorons seem like weaker. They do come across as slightly as lazy, but it is explained that, you know, we're starving to death, we need rocks. Not all these rocks are edible. You know, it's like if I had to come up with an analogy, it's almost like complaining that, you know, we can only eat bugs, and like say if these creatures were in the jungle for say, we can only eat certain types of bugs. Maybe these other kinds of rocks are poisonous to them. You know, they can only eat the rocks that are in Dodongo's cavern, and that much is clear. And them starving to death has made them too weak to do anything about it, and that enough can be implied. So harping on the Gorons for not going in here and doing them themselves, that argument in and of itself is kind of pointless in my opinion. But he does make a good point that it would have been neat to have, like, say, a Goron companion that, you know, you gotta feed rocks that you bring in here with you. That would have been really cool. But what we'll do is we will blow up the entrance to this and enter Dodongo's cavern proper, because this is really the tutorial that basically teaches you that those type of, at least appearance-wise, because later, this is early in the game, you don't need to know, you know, areas that are out of the way, like to hit them, that they sound different when you hit them. They're kind of like, they look like bombable things, but you're in this little room here, and there's 2 bomb flowers, which you've been taught how to use, and that structure, so it leads you to believe that, hey, those can be destroyed by bombs. But enough of that. Let's go watch some terrible gameplay.